Pedri Gonzalez, what a season he has been having so far for Football Club Barcelona. Line-splitting passes through the defence, long-range goals, magical dribbling, dictating the game, controlling the tempo. Pedri is just special. There are certain things he does that separate him from other midfielders in the world, and we will be covering those concepts in this analysis of his masterclass. Okay, let's start with his base position. In this match, Pedri is playing as a double pivot in a 4-2-3-1. He's the left-sided pivot. And notice where he is. When his right centre-back has the ball in build-up, he will position himself behind the strikers on their blind side and will be moving towards the middle of the pitch. Strikers, when defending, rarely check their shoulders to see the movement of the opposition's midfielders and also are the first line of pressure. Pedri understands positioning himself behind the front line will mean he'll have a chance to receive a pass between the lines which can help him advance the ball, and also it will be difficult for the strikers to see him because he is on their blind side. If Pedri was right next to the strikers, he would have no space and would be easy to mark, but now if he receives the ball, look how much space he has. He moves towards the middle of the field for two reasons. One is to be an option on a diagonal to his right centre-back. This provides the man on the ball with another option, and he draws the defenders to a side, which means there is space for Barcelona to switch. Also, if Barcelona were to lose the ball, Pedri would be in a spot where he can protect the goal, as he is positioned around the top of the box. Speaking of the blind side, Pedri checks in here almost 10 yards without being seen by the pressing striker and can receive the ball. Notice how he doesn't try to force the ball forward. There isn't anyone open. You may think Lamine can be played the ball as he's got some space, but there's a reason Pedri doesn't do this. He plays simply because this is how he controls the game. Playing the ball to Lamine is putting the ball in a risky spot because Lamine will have pressure and could lose the ball in his half. Playing wide is also a pressing trigger as it limits the amount of options a player has to pass. Playing simple and keeping possession here helps Barcelona maintain a calm spell of possession. It isn't always about playing forward, but playing to the right tempo. There is no need to rush an attack as it's early in the game. Pedri understands this, which is why many pundits and coaches will frequently praise Pedri for his maturity. Now we are going to touch on something that makes Pedri special, his positional intelligence. You can see on this play that Ansu Fati and Pedri both try to provide an option for the ball, but notice how they are in the same passing lane. Pedri almost never stands in the same passing lane as a teammate. This is because he isn't providing an option since he can't be played to. If this is the case, he will always try to move to a different space. This allows Barcelona players to have multiple options constantly and helps maintain possession. Pedri is the one who takes the initiative in this play because Fati can't see Pedri, but Pedri can see Fati. Fati won't know he's in the same gap because he can't see Pedri, so it's up to Pedri to move away and find a new space. Again, you can see Pedri applying the same concept. There is space for him to move into to receive. Pedri doesn't do it because he notices Fati in the gap and knows he will be blocking a passing lane to Fati if he moves into the space. He instead stays on a diagonal, even though he can't receive the ball because he's thinking a step ahead. He knows Fati will check in to receive the ball, and if he stays on the diagonal, he knows Fati can knock it down to him. This level of intelligence is extremely important and shows how mature and smart he is in his movements. He knows where to be to provide an option, and this advanced thinking helps Barcelona play many little combinations, and Pedri receives the ball much more. Here, Pedri does a simple movement, but ends up in a pocket of space. As you can see, the ball goes to Yamal, and the defence is all tracking back. You can see Pedri also moving forward, but stopping at one point. He stops because the defenders are focused on the ball as Barcelona is in their final third and aren't paying attention to Pedri. Their momentum is going towards the goal, so Pedri knows if he stops then he will create space, which is what he does here. The other team's midfielders have to track back deeper because they need to protect the top of the box and will leave Pedri open. Then, when Pedri's played the ball, he does a critical scan while the ball's coming to see if any pressure is arriving. This is important because if he doesn't scan and the midfielder on the other team presses, then Pedri could lose the ball and Sevilla could be on the counter-attack. He then receives the ball with his back foot to open his body towards the field. Notice how he doesn't rush it and plays outside when he gets the ball. Pedri understands that to score or create danger, the ball will have to be in the middle of the pitch. Even if a player passes out wide, it will eventually have to come back into the middle. Pedri has extra time here, so he looks towards the middle of the field for an option. This is how he can be a playmaker. He cuts inside and looks for movement from his teammates where he can play a dangerous ball to score. In this case, he sees Lamine, and Lamine almost pulls off a cheeky flick to create a dangerous opportunity. Remember that if you have time on the ball, don't panic and play it simple. Take all the time you have and you'll be able to make decisive plays. Now we will be covering positional rotations. Great teams flawlessly executed these rotations, especially the Barcelona team from the Pep era. These rotations confuse the defence and create pockets to play. In this play, Pedri scans and can see Lewandowski about to check in. Most players stand still and don't react, but Pedri understands that if Lewandowski checks, then someone will have to go high and play as a striker for that play. This is to confuse the defenders because you can see the midfielder of Sevilla go out to mark Lewandowski, but now Pedri is left open and in space. If Pedri doesn't move up into the space, then the positional organisation of Barcelona would be lost as they would be losing depth, and Sevilla could close the space down and Barcelona would have difficulty advancing the ball forward. These little movements may not seem important, but they can have great benefits to the play of the team. A quick point I want to touch on is Pedri's movement when wingers are cutting in. As you can see, Lamine Yamal is cutting in, and instead of standing still, Pedri checks back. This makes the defender have to pick Pedri or Lamine, and in this case he picks Pedri to mark so Lamine can cut inside. His movements create space for others too, which is why he's so important to the team. Now we are going to move on to the part of the video which I can almost guarantee everyone will learn something new. Pedri is a master of controlling the tempo of the game. He uses different ways of slowing the game down to dictate possession, but does it in different ways. In this case, Real Madrid had just finished a dangerous counter-attack. Pedri understands that now he must get on the ball and get Barcelona possession, as losing the ball can lead to another counter and can make Barcelona panic. Notice how when he receives the ball, he's not running into the space. He's slowly jogging, and he does this on purpose. Running with the ball here may advance the ball, but it would speed up the game. To slow it down, he moves with the ball slowly. Then notice how when Vinny comes to press, he does a lovely spin and escapes the pressure. While moving slowly, you have to have the ability to be press resistant, in case someone presses, which is what Pedri has. Now notice how Madrid has dropped back into their defence, and now Barcelona has moved up the pitch with control. Another method Pedri uses to slow down the game is to come to a complete stop, waiting for a defender to press a bit, then play it back slowly. He often uses this method when Barcelona has won the ball and beaten the press, as is shown in this play. Not moving at all with the ball essentially pauses the entire game. This allows Pedri to slow the game down and establish possession. These different types of ways Pedri slows the game down are known as la pausa, which means a pause in Spanish. This is a rare trait that only some midfielders have, and other players who are masters at la pausa include Xavi and Iniesta. A strategy Pedri uses more of in the middle to final third is taking all his time on the ball. You can see on this play he spins multiple times waiting for a pass forward to advance the ball, but it's covered well each time. Instead of passing the ball quickly backward after no one is open, he continues to dribble around to see if something will happen. Real Madrid doesn't press because then they could be disorganised, so they let Pedri do this. Pedri doesn't play the ball backwards quickly, because that would add speed to the game, which is not what Barcelona needed at that moment. Playing backward is a pressing trigger for many teams. Pedri doing what he did and staying calm while dribbling helped Barcelona maintain possession for about 10 seconds. And he didn't even have to pass the ball. A lot of young midfielders feel that if they don't see anyone open, play it back quickly and move the ball fast. But sometimes in games, staying calm and moving slowly, especially when the other team's gaining momentum in the match, can help your team get control of the game back and create chances. Again, Pedri does something very similar. Here he receives the ball and can play sideways or backward, but instead dribbles and uses the space given. Slowing the game down also has benefit of creating more dangerous passing options. Pedri not playing the simple pass here eventually leads to Lamine in space, which creates a lot of danger for the other team. He slows the game down momentarily, and then he speeds it up with a pass out wide. This game management by Pedri is what makes him so special. Alight, thank you for watching the video, and I hope you learned something from this magician. There is so many unknown facts in football, and my goal is to help everyone watching expand their knowledge of football. Drop down more players you would like to see, and make sure to subscribe for more videos.